All right, ready to dive deep. Today, we're tackling justice, love, and charity. But from a perspective we don't often hear, we're going straight to the spirit world for answers.
Straight to the source. We're turning to Allan Kardec's The Spirits book to see what he learned from spirits about these core human values.
It's like getting a glimpse into a different realm's understanding of right and wrong, good and bad.
Exactly. And what's amazing is Kardec didn't just speculate, he actually communicated with spirits, through mediums. He asked them direct questions and documented their responses.
So we're not talking theory here. We're talking insights from a source that many believe goes beyond human understanding. For this deep dive, we're focusing on Chapter 11, the law of justice, love, and charity.
Heavy stuff. And they jump right in, starting with justice. It's something so fundamental to how we function as a society.
Totally. But where does that sense of justice even come from? Is it learned? Are we born with it? What do the spirits say?
They're pretty clear, saying the sense of justice is inherent. They actually told Kardec that God has placed it in the human heart.
So that gut feeling we get when something's unfair, that instinctive revolt against injustice, it's like it's built in. But if it's so deeply ingrained, why is it so hard to make a truly just world?
That's the million-dollar question. And the spirits suggest, well, even though that sense of justice is innate, our understanding of it can be messed up by, our own passions and self-interest. We see things in a way that benefits us, even if it's not truly just.
Okay, that's kind of depressing. So how do we break free from those biases, move closer to a real sense of justice? How do we even begin to see clearly?
The spirits offer up the golden rule. You've heard it. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Sounds simple.
It does. But in practice, whoa, it's a lot harder than it seems.
Definitely. You got to be willing to step outside yourself and consider the impact your actions have on others. It's all about empathy. And speaking of empathy, the spirits also talk about those specific rights and obligations that make a just society.
Oh, I'm really curious about this. These days, it seems like everyone's debating about rights, who has them, what are the limits. Where do the spirits stand on this?
They start with the right to life. Seems pretty basic. Then they talk about the right to ownership, the idea that you have a right to own what you earn through honest work.
Makes sense, right? It's like acknowledging the value of individual effort. But then, where's the line? How much ownership is too much? Do they touch on things like wealth inequality?
They do. They use this interesting analogy. They compare it to, well, a bee working hard to sustain the hive, not hoarding honey just for itself.
Love that image.
Yeah.
So finding that balance between individual effort and the good of the whole. But in the real world, it can be hard to know where that line is.
Yeah.
How do the spirits help us navigate that gray area?
Well, they stress that ownership is legit, only if it's acquired without harming others.
Right.
Like, your right to own something ends where someone else's rights begin.
Okay.
Like that saying, your right to swing your fist ends where my nose begins. It's a reminder our actions always have consequences. We can't just use our rights to, step on others.
So it's not just about personal gain. It's realizing that our actions affect everyone. If my getting rich hurts someone else, is it really just? That's a tough question to think about, especially when society says success is all about stuff,
It is. And it's something the spirits really want us to reflect on. They aren't saying wealth or ownership are bad, but they're pointing out the ethics involved. They seem to be pushing for a more balanced approach, where we remember everyone's needs, not just our own wants.
That makes sense. Which brings us to another huge topic, charity. I'm curious how the spirits define that, because a lot of people think just donating money or volunteering. But is it deeper than that?
Oh, absolutely. The spirits go way beyond that. They describe it as benevolence toward everyone, indulgence toward the imperfections of others, and forgiveness for offenses.
Wow, that's so much more than just dropping off cans at a food bank or writing a check. It sounds like they're emphasizing real compassion and empathy, not just outward actions.
You got it. They even give specific examples of how to practice this kind of charity. Like, instead of looking down on those who are ignorant or struggling with addiction, try educating them, helping them morally. They stress being gentle and kind to those who might be less evolved than us. It's recognizing that everyone has worth, no matter what their circumstances are.
So it's about being proactive, not just reacting to needs, but actively trying to uplift others and help them be their best selves. But that's not always easy, right? What if someone's choices have actually hurt others? Are we still supposed to show them that level of compassion?
The spirits get that forgiveness is tough, especially when you've been hurt. But they remind us that everyone is on this journey of spiritual growth, and we all mess up along the way. Holding on to anger hurts you more than it hurts them. It's letting go, recognizing that everyone, even those who made huge mistakes, can change and grow.
That's a powerful message, but hard to put into action. It takes a lot of inner work, being willing to let go of those negative feelings. But I see how holding on to them only creates more suffering for yourself in the end. It's like we're punishing ourselves by not forgiving.
Exactly. And speaking of tough emotions, the spirits also talk about a very specific kind of love that can be both incredible and difficult, maternal love.
This is getting really interesting. The bond between a mother and child is often seen as sacred, almost mystical. But being a mother is a lot more complicated than that. Do they acknowledge that?
They do. They talk about how maternal love has two sides. It's this instinct to survive, like in animals, and also a virtue of real self-sacrifice.
So that instinct is like the base, but in humans, it evolves into something more, something that goes beyond just making sure the child survives.
Exactly. And the spirits say this higher form of maternal love stays with you your whole life and even after death. They say a mother's love continues to support her child from the spiritual realm.
That's a beautiful thought, really comforting. Even when we're physically apart from our mothers, that connection is still there. It's hopeful for those who've lost their moms and a reminder of how powerful that bond is.
Absolutely. But the spirits are real. They know not all mothers are like this, the perfect loving mother. There are moms who neglect or hurt their kids, actions that seem to go against that motherly instinct.
That's hard to even think about. How do they explain those situations where a mother's actions are so different from what we expect from a mom?
They have a couple of ideas. One is karma. They say that difficult experiences, like having a mom who neglects you, could be karmic trials the child's soul chose. Or maybe even because of something the mom did in a past life,
So there might be a deeper reason for these tough situations, something we don't understand from just looking at the physical world.
Right. They want us to think beyond what we see and consider that maybe there's a bigger spiritual reason for things. Of course, this doesn't excuse hurting others or let anyone off the hook, but it does give a different perspective on how complex relationships are and the challenges we face on our own journeys.
It reminds me that we don't always know the full story, and judging others based on what little we know can be misleading. We just don't know what karmic debts or lessons might be involved. But then, how do they make that work with the idea that parents have a responsibility to take care of their children? Doesn't that seem like a contradiction?
They're not afraid to address that. While they say karma might play a role in those tough parent-child relationships, they also stress how important it is for parents to do their best to raise their kids with good morals and guide them towards goodness.
So even if there's karma involved, it doesn't erase the responsibility to do everything you can to nurture and support your kids. It's a hard balance to find.
Definitely. And this circles back to justice, love, and charity. These aren't just nice ideas. They're supposed to guide how we act and how we treat the world around us.
Right. It's a reminder that we have choices in how we handle challenges, even those that seem tied to karma. We can keep the bad cycle going, or we can try to break free and make things better.
Absolutely. And that leads to a question I think is worth thinking about as we wrap up this part of our deep dive. Considering what we've learned about the Spirit's take on justice, love, and charity, how can we live more in line with these ideas? How can we really embody them in our everyday lives?
It's a challenge we're taking on. It's going beyond just understanding these concepts in our heads and putting them into action in the real world. It's interesting thinking about how these ideas connect justice, love, charity. We talked about the golden rule for just actions and how charity is more than giving. It's forgiveness, compassion, helping others grow. Now we're looking at maternal love, which kind of brings it all together in this personal way.
Yeah, it does. Maternal love, it's this force that can make us act justly and charitably. Think how far a mother will go to protect her child, provide for them, even if it means huge sacrifices for her. That shows how strong that bond is, that instinct to care for those we love.
And that selflessness, it reminds me of how the spirits say we should act for others' benefit, even when it's hard for us. But maternal love isn't always easy or simple, right? We've been talking about those tough cases where mothers do things that don't seem loving at all. The spirits mentioned karma might be involved, but they also said parents have a responsibility. How do we square those two ideas?
That's a tough one. No easy answer. Maybe it's about realizing that life is complicated. We don't know everything. We might not see the karmic debts or lessons playing out behind the scenes. But even with karma, we still have choices. We can act with love and compassion, or we can make things worse.
So even if karma is a factor, we're still responsible for what we do. It adds another layer to the whole thing. It reminds us that free will and responsibility still matter, even within a bigger spiritual picture.
Exactly. And maybe that's a key takeaway from all this talk about justice, love, and charity. These aren't fixed rules. They're living ideas that we're always working with as we figure out life. We're all on this journey of spiritual growth, and as we grow, our understanding of these ideas grows too.
That's actually reassuring.
Yeah.
Like, even if we screw up, even if we struggle to live up to these ideals, we can still grow and change. It's like we're always working to become better, more compassionate, more loving people.
It is, and maybe that's what the spirits want us to see. They're not giving us a rule book. They're giving us a way to understand where we fit in the universe and what we owe to each other. They're inviting us to spend our lives exploring these ideas, to question what we think we know, and to try to make a world that's more just and loving.
It's a powerful message that really speaks to me. It reminds me that we can choose love over fear, compassion over judgment, forgiveness over anger. We make that choice every day in every interaction.
And those choices, those little acts of kindness and compassion, they spread out, they make a difference, they help create a better world for everyone. I think that's a beautiful thought to end on.
It is. Thanks for joining us as we took this deep dive into the Spirit's view on justice, love, and charity. May their wisdom guide us as we continue on our own paths.